Okay, so I'm going to demonstrate real quick the process of removing a cooling fan, removing a CPU, and reinstalling a CPU, applying thermal paste, okay, or thermal grease or thermal paste, right there, and spreading it, okay? There are multiple different methods for applying thermal grease. There's a single dot method, there's a 5-dot method, there's a 3-dot method, there's a little X method. This is the one that we use in industry, and the reason that I use, it's basically a spread method. You do a line on one side, pick any side you want, and you evenly spread it. And the reason that we do that is because while we can have the debate as to which method is better or which method works, once you put this cooling fan on top of it, you really don't know what it looks like underneath there, okay? So if I were to put a single dot in the middle of this CPU and then put this cooling fan on it, I have no idea for sure exactly how much coverage I got. Did I put too much? Did I put too little? When I use the spread method, you'll see that there's no question as to where the thermal paste or thermal grease is in relation to the surface of the CPU. And I can tell how thick it is, I can tell that I have good even coverage, and ultimately creating that thermal bridge is our goal. If I can take this hot surface, the more of this surface that I can cover with that grease that becomes literally, what does a bridge do, right? It connects 2 points, right? So I need the grease to become a bridge to help the heat transfer from this processor to this cooling fan, okay? To this, well, the whole heat sink and cooling fan, okay? So the more even coverage that I have on here, the better my bridge is. All right, we don't want it too thick, we don't want it too thin. So let's go over this process again real quick. Most of them follow this type of heat sink connection right here. There's a little metal bracket. It's got a hook on it, and if you can't see what I'm working on, that's fine. You can look at it on the TV. If you can see exactly firsthand, that's fine too. So just look whatever works better for you. There's a little metal bracket right here, and there's a little hook indent, and this thing goes over that indent, okay? And then there's one on the other side as well. I don't know if you guys can see that one very good. Probably not from that angle, but basically we just get that on there, and now this heat sink is good and well and in place, okay? So to release it, I'm just going to disconnect the power from the fan very carefully, pulling close to the connector itself. We don't want to pull by the wires. We might separate the wires from the connector. I'm going to loosen that bracket, which is like a little tensioner, and my heat sink is completely separated now. You can see in this one, there was no thermal paste previously applied, okay? So I did that on purpose, so this becomes a good model. I don't have to clean it off. To release the CPU, this little arm right here just moves ever so slightly away from the center of the CPU, and then it can lift up. And I don't know if you can see that movement, probably not because of the shake of the camera, but when I push this arm down, it moves the bracket so that it tightens against the pins of the CPU. Handling the CPU, we do so by the edges, right? I don't want to touch or bend any of these pins. And when you guys are working with CPUs, we treat them like they're volatile, like explosives, okay? We don't want to drop them. We don't want to touch or handle them more than necessary, okay? This one, of course, is for training purposes, as are the ones in front of you, so it's less significant. But when you're building the PCs that you do for PC maintenance, those are working new processors, and we want to make sure that they continue to work. One thing that I'm going to try to point out here, if we can see it, it's very difficult, but there's a gold triangle right there on the corner. Okay, maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. Okay, but this gold triangle, and I'll walk around the room just so you guys get a chance to see it a little bit closer. Okay, I don't want to touch, by the way, the surface of this either, because the grease on my finger will create a hot spot. Okay, can you see the gold triangle? Okay, so the gold triangle lines up. There's always a point of reference on the board itself. In this case, it's that white triangle. Okay, so I will line up, and that's how I know that I have my CPU oriented properly. So I'm going to orient the gold triangle. Let me try and get the angle. There it is. You can kind of see it on camera. I'm going to orient the gold triangle with the white triangle and just let it kind of fall in there. Okay, it should not have to be forced. It should just fall right in. Okay, there we go. And now I'm ready to push the tensioner down, and that CPU is installed. Okay, very simple stuff. But video's getting kind of long, so let's move along right quick. We've got our thermal paste. I've just taken the lid off, or our thermal grease. Now we're going to take that cover off. We try not to make a mess. This stuff is like ever expanding. I don't know if you ever saw, there was a video, I can't remember if Linus Tech Tips did it or if it was somebody else, but he said, okay, I'm going to show you guys how to apply thermal grease with little mess as possible or something like that. And then every time it showed him, like he had a little on his face, and then it showed him again, it was like all over. This stuff grows, man. It's like a disease. It just spreads. So here's our thermal grease. I like to use, actually at our shop, we use a tube, a squeeze tube style, but it's cheaper to buy it in bulk. So for the classroom, we have it in bulk quantities like this. So I like to use a Q-tip and just get a little bit on my Q-tip. And I don't know, with the light glare, it's hard to see how much volume that I have on there. It's not very much. I would describe that as definitely less than a pea. You know what I mean? Like a green pea. Definitely a lot less than that. Okay, so we're going to try, and I think I'm going to spread it from this angle. So I'm just going to try to leave, you know what, I need a little more, because we need to leave a steady line across the edge of this CPU, okay? Now, I have a feeling we're going to need a little bit more from my experience, so I am going to apply just a little bit more. I'm really trying to get a good even bead across the edge of that CPU. Now, we've got these cards, okay? You can use a business card. You can use a special spreader. I bought these blank cards. This is what we use at our shop. And basically what I'm going to try and do is grab the edge of that thermal grease and create a flat surface to pull it. Let me try and show on the camera as well. So if I were to just scrape the edge, what's that going to do? It's going to just pull all of the grease with it. So what I have to do is I have to try to get it where it creates a flat, see, and just pull it smoothly along the flat surface of it, not the sharp edge of it. Okay, so let's see if I can demonstrate that for you guys a little bit. And I am holding the top third of the card because I want to allow for that flex. So what happened here is I'm getting in the way of these and it caused me to have too sharp of an edge, right? So being able to pull from this angle is not going to work. So if I were to go sharp edge, that's what happens, and I don't have good even coverage. So now let's see if I can come this direction with it. Not happening. We're going to have to start over, right? But this is the part that you guys are going to go through. I might be able to salvage it. It's a little bit hard once you start to, but you'll notice the flatter I can get this card, right, the more evenly it spreads for me, right? What do you guys think? Not too bad, right? We recovered a little bit. Okay, now I can work with that and I can get it perfect over time, but we have a good, even spread, okay? I can use the edge of my card to clean up around these edges. You know, we want to try to have a professional outcome, but really, this isn't so messy that I can't apply that heat sink right now, okay? So, again, this is going to spread everywhere, so I'm going to try to set it down in such a way that it doesn't. We'll take our heat sink and hook it on there. Whenever we put it down, we don't want it to move too much after that, okay? Like if it moves a little bit, it's not the end of the world, but make sure we're on our, there we go, and we're properly installed. Connect our fan into the part of the board that says CPU fan carefully. That's one of the things that can break, are those little connectors, and that's pretty much it, okay? Now, before you put your cooling fan on though, you're gonna have me come inspect to see your evenly spread thermal grease so that I can give you a little feedback on it, okay? And then we're gonna use these sanitizing wipes because these are just for training purposes. And we'll clean it off. When you remove this, give it a slight twist, okay? Because if you try to just pull it off, there's going to be a suction and it may pull the whole CPU with it. So give it a little bit of a twist and kind of work on it. Come on. There we go. To break that connection. And guys, you know what? I'm proud of that. I don't have any issue with that coverage whatsoever. You can see a few spots that could have been a little more even, but this was going to work. So we'll just wipe it off and get it ready for the next person after we've had our inspection, and we can set that back down. This is not how I would clean thermal paste off of a CPU that was not for training purposes. We would use a special lint flip free and probably some rubbing alcohol rather than whatever cleaner this is. This is probably a vinegar-based cleaner, to be honest with you. All right, and that's it. Any questions?